Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and in today's video we are going to be going over what I consider to be the 3 best moments in all of Tokyo Revengers so far. These are my most hype, hair-raising, or just favourite emotional moments that I constantly look back on as pinnacle points from throughout the entire Tokyo Revengers story. Also, there are going to be some massive spoilers here for you beautiful anime onlys, as we are going to be covering moments from throughout the manga, so do watch out as, I guess I've given you your warning. But just before we do get into the video, if you do enjoy Tokyo Revengers and want to know more about the series in general and keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers content, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my videos to a bunch of new amazing people. I've also got a Discord server where you can find the latest releases for manga and content that I cover, so be sure to join there if you're interested as well. But anyway, enough of that, let's get into the video. So the first moment I want to go over happens on chapter 204 and involves an adult Takemichi along with an extremely evil Mikey who had been completely enveloped into his dark impulses. This is personally my favourite moment of the entire story so far, as it results in the continuation of the manga with a brand new arc called the Three Deities arc. After arriving at a bowling alley that Takemichi thought belonged to the organization Bonten, he sat down and started thinking over his decision of trying to find Mikey even though he was told it was a suicide mission. All of a sudden, he feels a gun pressing to the back of his head. Hearing footsteps approach, Takemichi listens as a disheveled Mikey tells him that this was the best future. Mikey then tells Sanzu, who was holding the gun to Takemichi's head, to leave, and Takemichi begins to ask Mikey about what his dark impulsivities are. He then goes on to explain that he can no longer time leap, as him and Naoto have fulfilled their promise to save Hina. But because Takemichi believed that this timeline wasn't one that Mikey wanted, and he was again manipulated into this dark path, he stands up and tells Mikey that because he protected everyone, it is now his turn to save him. But as he turns around, Mikey shoots Takemichi, who instantly collapses to the floor. Mikey tells Takemichi that this is why he didn't want to meet, because he knew it would end up this way. As he walks off to end everything, he tells Takemichi that his long journey ends here. But Takemichi, on his knees, refuses. While wheezing and coughing up blood, he tells Mikey that he will save him no matter what. In retaliation, Mikey states that he will end everything here. After arriving on the roof, Mikey looks out and imagines the sea of people below him as members of Toman who are cheering him on, along with his past family members and friends who have been taken from him in the past. After screaming out, he jumps off the roof, and while falling, Mikey's hand is caught by Takemichi, who's managed to crawl to the window. While losing consciousness, Takemichi tries his best to convince Mikey to live and crawl up, but he constantly refuses, telling Takemichi he wants to end everything here and now. Mikey asks Takemichi to let go and put him at peace, but Takemichi screams, telling him to shut up and just ask for help once, because if he asks, Takemichi will definitely come save him. Just then, the look in Mikey's eyes change, and he begins to tear up, and as Mikey's hand starts to slip, he grasps Takemichi's hand and asks him to save him. All of a sudden, in that moment, as their hands lock, Takemichi is sent again into the past, but this time instead of being 14 years old, he is now 16. On the emotional side of things, this moment here is absolutely amazing. Every single time I record and speak about it, or even while reading panels from this moment, it constantly sends shivers down my spine and chills reverberate throughout my entire body, just because I think this moment is absolutely amazing. Another reason this moment here is a pinnacle one throughout the story is how, as I've said, it gives us the continuation of a new arc, but this time it's added an entirely new aspect that we haven't seen before, and this is the whole future sight side of things. Because of the inability to travel back to the future due to the antagonist now being Mikey, Takemichi is now having to figure out things as they happen, but with the addition of small visions that show him the bad outcomes close to the time that they are about to happen. The second moment that we're going to look at here is during the start of the Tenjiku arc and takes place just after Takemichi and Naoto meet with an adult Taiju who gives them some intel on the current state of the Tokyo Manji gang, which has evolved into the organization known as Tenjiku. After escaping from the meeting with Taiju, which was ambushed by Tenjiku members Koko and Inyupe, Takemichi says to Naoto that he thinks they should both head back and confront them to try and get more information that will help their case. But as Takemichi turns around and begins running back to the restaurant, a shadowy figure holding a gun appears. This figure, wearing an all-black trench coat, turned out to be Kisaki. As he tells Takemichi to die, Naoto rushes over and knocks Takemichi out of the way, sustaining a fatal bullet wound to the back of his body. Screaming out his name, Takemichi crawls over and cradles the head of a critically wounded Naoto. While Naoto tells Takemichi to run, we hear footsteps and a mysterious person state to Kisaki that he was supposed to be the one to kill Naoto, in which Kisaki remarks to Izana that he couldn't do much as Naoto tried to protect Takemichi and got in the way. Walking up, Izana tells Naoto and Takemichi that they killed his Mikey. He then cheerfully calls out Kikucho to finish off the pair. Walking up, an obedient Kikucho pulls out his revolver and without saying a word, blasts Takemichi in the chest and stomach, leaving him bleeding out right next to a Naoto whose life is now slowly fading away. As they lie on the ground together, Naoto remarks that he constantly thought to himself that how can Takemichi, this pathetic wimp, really pull this all off? How could his sister fall in love with such a person? He remarks that he finds it weird, but when he thinks back, no matter how many times he failed, he would always find his way back to Naoto. Naoto says that that's how a hero would act. Like Takemichi, he never gives up, even if they constantly fail. He then tells Takemichi that he is his pride and reaches out, saying that this here is their final handshake. Remarking that death sure is scary, Naoto and Takemichi slide their blood-soaked hands across the concrete and grasp their hands together one last time. As Takemichi remembers the people that he needs to take down, he states to himself that this will not be their last handshake, as he will never give up. I absolutely love this moment. Every single time I reread this chapter, it brings out a flurry of emotion and I'll usually begin to tear up. I feel like this is because the first time in over 130 chapters, it finally feels like someone has noticed the immeasurable amount of work that Takemichi has put in to try and save the ones that he loves. As readers, we've seen him grow from this 26-year-old immature male with a narrow mindset who will constantly let people walk all over him to now continuously standing up for what he believes in, even at the sacrifice of his own life. He won't back down or give up, and it's even more evident when again we see him internalize his determination, stating that this will not be the last handshake. This moment here also, for the first time, lets us know the full scale of what happens when Takemichi really messes up, as if Naoto is dead in the future, he will be unable to travel back to his original timeline, leaving him stranded until he is able to fix things or dies himself in the past. The third and final moment that I consider to be one of the best moments from throughout the entire Tokyo Revengers story so far happens on chapter 184 and involves the main antagonist and the main protagonist of the Tokyo Revengers story, that being Takemichi Hanagaki and Teta Kisaki. During the final scuffle between Kisaki and Takemichi, Takemichi manages to disarm Kisaki's gun, and while pointing the gun at Kisaki himself, states that if he kills Kisaki here, he can save Hina. Just as Takemichi is about to pull the trigger and kill Kisaki himself, Hina and Mikey show up, calling out his name. In this moment, Takemichi turns his head to see his friends approaching, but while he does this, Kisaki takes the time to try and escape by running off, but Takemichi quickly chases after him, telling Kisaki that it is over because no one trusts him anymore. His ruse of using people is up, and his pathetic dreams have failed. But Kisaki remarks that he won't let it end here, and that one day, Hina will be his for sure. Takemichi replies, screaming out, saying that he won't let that happen, and won't let Kisaki escape back to the future timeline again. Hearing this, Kisaki comes to a complete standstill in the middle of a crossing, and asks Takemichi if he thinks he is a time leaper. As Takemichi walks closer to Kisaki, confused, he asks if he is or not. At the exact same time, in the distance, a rogue truck-kun takes control of the vehicle, overriding the driver and sticking it in 6th gear, sending the truck flying down the suburban streets of Japan. All jokes aside, just before Kisaki replied to Takemichi, giving him an answer, a speeding truck slams into an unaware Kisaki, who is sent flying over the other side of the road. Wounded beyond repair, a broken Kisaki does his best to try and get back up to his feet, but his mangled body won't listen to him and stops him from being able to get back up. As his body begins to slump back down to the ground, Kisaki says that he does not want to die before passing away in the middle of the street alone. So obviously I had to include this in my top 3 because, well, it's all 3 of the things that I said a best moment was about. This moment has so much hype behind it, like you can go to any Kisaki video and find someone in the comments representing the man himself, Truck-kun. But like, that joke aside, Kisaki was the main antagonist of the entire story and has been with us for like almost 200 chapters now. He brought forth a majority of most of the hair-raising or nail-biting moments through his callous or the genius plans that he formulates. He in turn is kind of what makes Takemichi so great and why he shines so bright in everyone else's eyes. And I think this moment here brings the genius madman to an end through something he could never have expected, and something that Takemichi certainly had no foresight towards. I also think this moment is an extremely emotional one, not necessarily for everyone, but I think how he died was quite brutal. And I'm not going to say he didn't exactly deserve it, but seeing someone say they didn't want to die before they slumped in the middle of a road was quite a sad moment, or at least it was in my eyes. Let me know what you guys all think down in the comment section below about his death and whether or not you agree or disagree with what I consider to be the top 3 moments in all of Tokyo Revengers so far at least. Also, if you want me to make a part 2, also be sure to comment down below, as honestly there are like a bunch of moments to choose from and it was extremely hard to even pick 3, like just for this video alone. Like we've got the Baji's death or Emma's death, or the moment, you know, Mikey shows up during the Tenjiku arc, or even the moment that Mikey shows up during the Black Dragons arc. I absolutely love that moment. Or the moment that Takemichi tells Sakaya that, you know, loneliness is the saddest thing. You know, there's so many amazing moments throughout this entire series, so be sure to check a comment down below with, you know, what you'd like me to go over, and I'll be sure to make another video if this one does well. If you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers content, and I guess just more anime content in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. Also be sure to check out the membership option for my channel if you want to support me even further. But anyway, for now it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.